From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
On Afternoons LALATE today, breaking news as we examine forced stimulus through the eye of the press secretary. On Friday, yesterday, the president's press secretary was asked a series of questions about forced stimulus. And over again, different reporters continue to ask virtually the same question. Where's the bipartisan negotiations? Who have you met with? What have you been doing? Really, have you been doing anything bipartisan? And what's going on? Who have been in the meetings? In these videos, we see what those reactions are. And you may have a laugh, you may be inquisitive. Ultimately, the path to get forced stimulus is reconciliation. It's a 2-month path. And we're about 2 months and a half away from when Leader Schumer and Speaker Pelosi have called for the vote for forced stimulus, those monthly stimulus checks that would be the biggest single payday you have ever seen on this channel. In this video, I analyze all these new videos from the White House, and we'll get to the details about what's happening this new week. Also, new financial news happening today. I'll give you the latest predictions about what corporate earnings reporting on Monday through Friday could say about your stimulus. This is Afternoons LALATE. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Saturday afternoon. Welcome, Sherelle, for becoming a Purple Hawk, and welcome the rest of you to a big Afternoons LALATE recording. Thank you for joining me. This is the first of 2 afternoons recording. The second one is about 2 hours from now, and then we go into evenings LALATE and then late night. How are you? If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also like this video, and if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. As we go into Saturday afternoon, the great news across the board is that broadcast news has suddenly taken the narrative of this channel over the last 4 weeks and made it a front page story. Over the last 4 weeks, I have singularly been pushing forced stimulus, reoccurring stimulus checks, coverage of the Senate proposal and the House proposal hour after hour on this channel. And guess what? Now it's front page news in broadcast media. And it's the #1 most searched story by those viewers. It means that people are very interested. Forced stimulus is another word to describe the president's infrastructure bill or jobs plan or American Recovery Act. Every day it's a different term. But here's what you need to know, is that the president has never reduced it to a bill, never reduced it to a memo, never reduced it to a proposal, unlike the third stimulus package. Under the third stimulus package, I had a proposal for you. I actually had the document. I had the deal provisions. And yet, we still really don't know what's in there. It doesn't make a difference for you, for purposes of this channel, because it's the senators and the House members who are going to add on to whatever the president offers. And that add-on is stimulus checks. House members want to give you stimulus checks every month. Senators want to give you stimulus checks every month. So what's the difference? It's how many months they want to give you the stimulus checks and how much the stimulus checks are. Let's go over that first to start. House members want to give you a stimulus check every month through the entire pandemic and then add an additional year. So if the pandemic goes on for 6 more months, they want to give you 18 months of checks. Senators want to give it to you from now to the end of December, which is about 6 months of checks. Who are the people at issue? The House members are progressives. They're junior members of Congress. The senators are senior members of Congress. They are of the inner core of the Democratic Party. And then the amounts of the checks. The House members want to give you less per month than the senators. House members want to give you $2,000 the first month and then $1,000 thereafter. And then the senators, their amount is unknown because they won't publicly say it, but insiders say they're likely to go with $2,000 a month or $1,400 a month. So if we're looking at this graphic, thank you, CS, for the hippopotamus. I love those hippopotamus. If we're looking at this graphic, the senators would propose to give you 6 months of a bigger check than the House members who will give you a larger amount of money over 18 months. Okay, so we have the numbers under wraps. We understand the numbers. So the next issue is when. Well, Speaker Pelosi, Leader Schumer have said repeatedly, thankfully, that the call for the vote would be before July 4th. Now, you want it before July 4th. Why? Because they go on vacation July 4th. July to September is a big vacuum of vacations by congressional leaders. So you want this bill done before July 4th. So when do they need to start the bill? A reconciliation is a 2-month process. They need to start it by early May. We are approaching that new 2-month period, people. So we need reconciliation to start right away. What is the president doing? He's trying to create the optics of bipartisan relief. Now, remember, bipartisan relief does not give you stimulus checks. You don't want the bill to go by bipartisanship. You want it to go by reconciliation. But is the president really just setting this up for reconciliation? Here's what you need to know. The president doesn't do the law. The president doesn't do the bill. The president doesn't write the bill. The person who gets him the bill and gets him what he wants is Leader Schumer. And Leader Schumer 2 weeks ago fought to get a reconciliation for the Senate. Do you think he fought to do a reconciliation, not to use it? No. So just on Friday, less than 24 hours ago, the White House was bombarded by a series of questions from field reporters about, is this president really doing anything bipartisan, or is it just part of the optics of the situation? In this recording, you're going to see video after video after video after video of where different reporters are asking ostensibly the same question. And the answer is not particularly accurate. Here's what you need to know going into these videos. First, the Republicans have come out formally, no less than almost 3 weeks ago, saying they're not doing the bill. They just said it, that we're not doing the bill. Why? Because of climate. There's climate in the bill. And they're saying we're giving 0 for the climate. Second, they said we have a counterproposal. Thank you, CS, for another dancing pair. Killing the dancing pair, CS. I love it. The Republicans said we have a counterproposal. We'll just do infrastructure. It'll be a couple $100 billion, and that's it. We're not doing climate. The president said, no, you have to do climate. They said, no, we're not. That's our counterproposal. So going into these videos, you understand 2 things. One, the Republicans said we're not doing climate. We're not negotiating on that. And second, they also said, here's a counterproposal. Take out climate. So there is a counterproposal, and there is also a line in the sand. Let's listen in to what the White House said in a series of questions asking, are you really negotiating, or are you just looking to just appear to look like you're negotiating? Let's go video after video and see what happened during these exchanges less than 24 hours ago.
Has been informed about what their response is going to be?
Not as of earlier this morning, but I can check with our national security team if there are more details.
Okay. On infrastructure, is there anything that you can update us on about the negotiations, any serious negotiations happening with the GOP on pay-fors, anything you can share on infrastructure?
Can you update us on any negotiations that have been happening? Let's hear the response.
Well, I would say that what we're waiting for is a counter proposal from.
Okay, so not responsive. The question was, have you had any negotiations? Meaning, have you met with anyone? Have you gone to lunch and chatted and had some coffee and tea? The response is, we're waiting for a counterproposal. Wait a second. Does that mean you've not negotiated or you have negotiated? Not a responsive answer. And she's also saying we're waiting for a counterproposal. Let's listen in more.
Republicans in Congress, and they've indicated that they're working through that. So
That's also not accurate. Roy Blount, 3 weeks ago, said, I have a counterproposal. The counterproposal was remove climate. That's our counterproposal. So what's going on here?
look forward to seriously considering any proposal, that any good faith engagement, I should say, that comes our way. But we're waiting. We're on the receiving end for that, so we're looking forward to it. On pay-fors, I would say they're.
So she says she's waiting for proposals. Now, in another video, she says she has received a lot of proposals, and there's a lot of proposals from different people. You'll see that video in a second. But let's look at the next one.
Basically 2 options to pay for. Go ahead.
One more question
I just
about-
have to get around to everyone, so I'll come back to you, I promise. Go ahead.
If I can go back to gun safety legislation on the Hill,
Yep.
we're hearing you talk over and over again about the president's support of the House bills, but right now it just doesn't seem like you guys have those votes in the Senate. But we've heard from some Republican senators a willingness to work on a more limited package around background checks. So why not pitch something a little bit more limited.
Now here, not talking about infrastructure, background checks. The question is the president actually having meetings about background checks or not?
Try to get something across the finish line. Is the president willing to engage on a more targeted background check bill?
I would say that I would punt that question back to the Republicans who...
Again, not answering the question, saying, ask the Republicans, see if they have an answer for the question.
Are not supportive of universal background checks or an extension of that, which 80% of the public supports. So
now let's go to the next video from that same exchange.
On legislation, just a few weeks ago, I asked the president if he was going to be making phone calls to Republicans in particular in the Senate to try to advance the background check legislation there.
Okay, now another question. Is the president actually doing bipartisan calls about background checks? And the person says, I've asked the president for that, and let's see the response to this one.
He said he would be willing to. I know the jobs bill has been the priority. Is there more you can say about the kind of outreach he's been doing on background checks specifically?
Well, I don't have any calls to read out specifically, but I can tell you that
And the response is, I don't know if there have been calls.
in his conversations, and he has been talking with Republicans about a range of issues.
The president has been talking with Republicans about a range of issues. What are the range of
But
issues?
there are a lot of topics that certainly come up, and he believes that you mentioned the third mass shooting. It's actually the third mass.
And let's go to the next video from that same press conference.
In addition to the awful situation in Indianapolis, yesterday in Chicago there was a video released of. Does the president regret, prioritizing infrastructure at this point when this racial equality and the adjacent issue of gun reform sort of fit in those four buckets that you guys talked about right from the beginning? Is there any regrets on the prioritization?
Well, first I would say the president believes that we leaders can do more than one thing at one time. And yes, we've proposed an American jobs plan, something that will put millions of people back to work, that will make historic investments in our economy, put us on a path to sustainability and competing with China over the long term.
So you see generally what's going on with the reporters. The reason why the reporters are one after another repeatedly asking virtually the same question, whether it's background checks or infrastructure. Are you really doing bipartisan calls? Who are you talking with? Are you calling them up? Is because they don't think it's actually happening. They don't believe it's actually happening. In the exchanges the day before on Thursday, the questions were, are you really having bipartisan negotiations for the fourth stimulus package, or are these phone negotiations? And another question actually asked, Senator Manchin, actually it's in this video, it's actually on Friday. Senator Manchin proposed 25% of the corporate tax rate. The president wants 28%. Have you spoken to Senator Manchin about this situation? The response is, ask Senator Manchin whether we've spoken to him. Interesting. What you need to know is that Purple Power, you need to do your thing. You need to push to get this by reconciliation. It appears that press thinks potentially that it's going to reconciliation, and that the optics of making it look like it's been bipartisan has not been actually accurate. CS, thank you for another dancing pair. You don't want it to go bipartisanship because bipartisan doesn't give you stimulus checks, reconciliation does. And ultimately, the president has to start reconciliation in just a few weeks. But it looks like from the series of these interview questions over and over again is that reporters are starting to not believe that there really is an effort for anything but the reconciliation process. Now, let's go back to the big money at issue and how that money is impacted and what the time frame is for that money across the board. Who gets forced stimulus? If you make less than $75,000, this is you. If you're a household of four or less, this is you, and it would be 4 times that amount. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and Railroad benefits, this is you. And there's a full room today. I see Charlotte and Linda, and there's Barbara and Gail and Jenny and Lisa. How is everybody? The stimulus amounts would be on a monthly check, whether you're looking at the House or Senate. Senators would give you less months. House members would give you more months, but the senators would give you more money, and the money would come sooner rather than later. Bigger sums of money are up front. Look at this money. I mean, this is the single biggest payout we've ever seen on this channel. One viewer just said, why can't the press secretary answer a question? She doesn't really answer that question. That's a really good comment. One of the things, and I'm not hammering the press secretary, but I got to tell you, one of the number one questions that's repeated Friday, Thursday, and Wednesday with the press secretary is, who is the president meeting with for these bipartisan negotiations? And her response is, I don't know. I don't have a log. I don't know. But a couple people. What do they talk about? I don't know. Well, you know, if you're asked the question on Wednesday, can you have the answer by Friday? But on Friday, she's asked the same question again, and she still doesn't have the answer. Or maybe she doesn't want you to tell you the answer. There we go. Meantime, why is it important when we're looking at this July date? July date is critical because the economy is booming, folks. Here's what you need to know. This economy is growing fast, but no one knows how fast it's rebounding. If this was 3 weeks ago and you were tuning into this channel 3 weeks ago, we knew at that time that we'd be fully recovered by January of next year. Whether it's Janet Yellen, Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, the president, or myself, we would all said we're recovered by early next year. Now we know it's this year because the economy is rebounding fast. It's not fully recovered. It's just recovering. So when is it fully recovered? Next week, we're going to see a series of new reports and new corporate earnings that could potentially give us that insight. Let's go over what's happening. On Monday, Coca-Cola, United Airlines, and IBM will report corporate earnings. Jim Cramer says the following about each of them. For Coca-Cola, he says, I expect good numbers for them and a great story for the food services reopening. We're expecting their Q1 corporate earnings from these companies next week. For United Airlines, for its earnings, he says, I think it's the right place to be. And then IBM, he says it's too early to tell. What about Tuesday? On Tuesday, we get Q1 2021 quarter one earnings from Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, and Netflix. For J&J, Cramer says, I bet J&J has a fantastic earnings quarter and reveals even better pipelines. And then for Netflix, he says, even Netflix's conference call has good content. But Friday, oh boy, folks, Friday is the day in which you could see real insight about this economy. Thank you, Alice King, for the massive dancing bear. I really appreciate it. Really very nice, Alice King. On Friday, Honeywell and American Express report Q1 earnings. As to Honeywell, Cramer says, I think the numbers could go higher still, but American Express, oh boy. Cramer says, credit, travel, and entertainment lines, we should be able to get a good grip and good read on the strength of the recovery going forward when we see American Express's earnings. Wow. He is basically saying American Express is one of the eyes to what's going on with this economy, and we're going to have that data on Friday. Oh my goodness. Meantime, one of the things that's important for you to know about is that a series of items have not been landing where they're supposed to be landing. The Shutter Venue grant is not gone live yet at sba.gov because they're having problems with their website. The $5,000 EIDL grant at SBA is not going to be happening anytime soon, and the restaurant grant hasn't gone live. Also not going live yet under third stimulus is all the money for rent and homeowners. Second stimulus has not even landed in some states, but a new report says that all the money for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and homeowners assistance under third stimulus and second stimulus will be there by May. Here's a little bit about the community page and the volunteers that can help you get that in the meantime. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now on Afternoons LA. Thank you, Lisa Strum, for the dancing pear or the super chat just minutes ago. And there's so many hearts in this chat. I'm loving it. Hearts and prayer emojis and also roses. Coming up next is Afternoons LA Part 2. That's in 2 hours from now at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is a big broadcast. I don't want you to miss that. That is Afternoons LA, followed by Evenings LALATE. And then if you want to laugh, LA Late Night tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That is a laugh a minute. It's not informative. It's not inspiring to tell you where your stimulus check is. It is just for laughs. So thank you for joining me. It's Afternoons LALATE. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also like this video. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. A new report this weekend from Politico shows that Nancy Pelosi and Representative Omar in the House are very close. Very close. That they've kept their friendship a secret for a very long time. Wow. What does this mean? Well, Omar is one of the most vocal proponents for that monthly stimulus check from House members. Wow. Here's what you need to know, is that the president, he wants to do his infrastructure, his climate, good. Just tell Nancy to start and do a recon. Remember, step one is Nancy doing a recon, send it to Schumer, signs into law. Then they go back and actually do the substantive bill. Step two after that. Just get it started, as viewers said during the commercial break. Just get it started. Nancy could put those stimulus checks in there with Omar when she starts step two. But even if she doesn't, it's during the reconciliation path when it gets to the Senate at the vote-a-rama that those senators can put that in there for you as well. Who gets those stimulus checks? Remember, it's you. It's the biggest single payoff you've seen on this channel. If you made less than $75,000, you get it. 150,000 married couple, you get it. Household up to 4, you get it. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, or railroad benefits, you get it. And you want this forced stimulus to hit sooner than later. Why? Because this week we had a series of financial data that came out that just blew Wall Street away. Let's look at what happened this week on financial data. First, that's actually not this week, that's the week before that. First, we started with the CPI, which absolutely blew it out of the water. Christine, welcome for becoming a Purple Hawk. Everyone welcome Christine to the family. The Consumer Price Index came in at its highest level since 2018. This concerns consumer spending. It concerns growth. Look at that growth. The FANG stocks, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Netflix, and Google were on fire. Then we had the incredible big news about the Coinbase IPO, one of the biggest IPOs of the year. And as the week went on, then on Thursday, oh boy, folks, look at this. On Thursday, the unemployment numbers just shocked everyone. We've been doing 700 to 1.2 million unemployment new claims since last year. Bam, we fell. We fell to 576, the lowest number since March of 2020 for new unemployment claims. Continuing unemployment claims fell even further, fell 1 million to 16 million. And the data didn't stop after that. We had tech after tech after tech company, and we had banks deliver incredible big earnings reports. Meantime, this is the last live broadcast of the day. Everything else after this, of course, is always taped. I'm in the live chat with you. So if you have questions or comments right now, drop them in the comments about anything you want to ask questions about, and I'll interact with you right now. I see Sonia Room, and there's Cindy. and there's Deanna, and there's Jazz as well. Someone has a back pain? Sorry about the back. Here's some beach to calm you down. Push, push, push for the multiple stimulus checks, says Helen Davis. Absolutely. Mary says the employment is temporary. And it's actually held that comment. Let me release it. No, actually, Mary, the employment is not temporary. The long-term unemployment number is the indication that this is not a temporary situation. Long-term unemployment means people who have actually reported to unemployment, they are now off of unemployment. So that shows we are booming. We don't want to run from the data that we're booming. We just want to know when we're fully recovered, because we don't want to run up on that date and see stimulus not going out the door. Let me answer some other great questions. Harold Rose, some summer jobs. The summer jobs are temporary, so they don't count towards the whole calculation at issue. Carrie says, hi, Elliot. Joshua says, MSC. Absolutely. You want to push hashtag MSC Purple Power. Absolutely. Let's see some more of the comments. What I missed. Just a few things. And there is Diane and Linda and Charlotte and Mary, and there's another Diane, and there's Cindy and Charlotte as well. Is there going to be more rounds of stimulus direct deposits? Yes. So when we're talking about forced stimulus, it's unclear how they're going to physically deliver it, but yes, we're talking about this. It's unclear how they would physically deliver it. I've certainly gone over data about potentially put it on a debit card for all Americans. Trish, is the eviction moratorium extended till September or not? I believe it's till September. I always forget the date. But most of your items do expire in September. FPUC, PUA, PEUC, and the mortgage forbearance, I believe, as well. Lynn says, thank you for being here. I appreciate that. Bless you, Mr. Purple. Bless you, says Jessica. I appreciate that. Do I need to go on to non-filers on Direct Express? At the moment, there's no guidance on Treasury about what to do. And in fact, they said do not change anything to tee up for third stimulus or fourth stimulus. Lisa says, LA, thank you for the beach scene. I appreciate that. Someone said IRS was here hiring yesterday. Is that true? No. There's always some crazy spamming going on. How about student loan debt forgiveness? Yes, Michelle. So Miguel Cardona, your education secretary, was ordered to produce a memo by yesterday whether student loan debt forgiveness can be forgiven by executive order. And that order came from the president. And guess what? If the letter was produced, the memo was produced, no one saw it. I didn't see it. We all sat around wondering where it is, and ultimately, no one asked anyone about it. Can credit card debt help? I don't know what that's about. Dwayne Taylor has a great comment. So Dwayne Taylor is talking about the 21 out of 50 senators. Here's what you need to know, is that when we're talking about 21 of 50 senators, we're talking about who wrote a letter. We're not talking about who's voting for something. This is how a voter-rama works. A voter-rama works the following way. 9 out of 10 times, you don't even know that they're going to do it. You don't even know what the amendment is going to be. They don't even tell you. They don't want you to know on purpose. What happens is it starts with one senator who has an idea to do something. That senator writes it up months ahead of time. Then goes to other senators who are his friends or her friends and says, what do you think about this? I love it. Then they start to ask their other friends, and they add people to the group that they know will support it. Then they go to Leader Schumer and say, will you call this for a vote? Do you like it? I love it. Absolutely going to call for a vote. At that point, they fully pool how many people are going to support something. So when people have talked about the 21 of 50, it's referring to a letter. It's not referring to the amendment, and it's not referring to the vote. It's referring to a letter, meaning who signed the letter that day of the week. It doesn't refer to anything. And more specifically, it's important to understand that amendments for voter-rama, no one knows they even exist to the final moment. They don't know. We don't know how they are formulated, what the terms are, or anything until they manifest themselves for a reason. They don't want opposition to pile up, and they don't want someone to override it with something else ahead of time. Great question. Let me jump into some more of the questions and more. How can I get in on the live chat? Carolina Long. You are Carolina Long. Thank you for joining me in the live chat. Carolina Long, you are in it. I'm getting my vaccine on Monday. I'm nervous. Donna, don't be nervous. Not at all. Why is it such a secret? Because you don't want someone to undo you. There's certain ways they could undo it. They could do a counter proposal before yours that would basically nullify what you're about to do. So they really try to keep it a secret to the last second. If my son is a payee on my disability, does he get his stimulus check? Is a payee on my... It is not dependent upon benefits. It's dependent upon tax status. That's a great question. Great question. Always remember, when considering who gets stimulus checks, it's not dependent upon who is... it's not dependent on who receives benefits based upon tax status. Now, if IRS does not have a tax return for you, and you're a representative payee for someone else, and they're on benefits, that's a better situation. Here's an example. Let me make it even clearer. If you are on SSI and you have a child, the child is not on benefits, you have nothing going on with the IRS and that child, they're not going to know that child exists. They just don't know the child exists. But if you have a child and the child is on benefits, then IRS knows the child exists. If you are a representative paying for the child, good, IRS knows the child exists. The biggest concern going into July with that $3,600 starting paid $300 a month, $250 a month starting July, is when IRS doesn't know that child exists. And how do you fix it? We're waiting to see that advisory from IRS in the next few weeks. Thank you for joining me on those great questions and a big afternoon's broadcast. I'm back with you in 2 hours from now as Afternoons LA continues. Then we go into Evenings LA and finally Late Night. Late Night is a new show on the lineup that is just for humor purposes. It's not for information purposes. So if you join that show and you're looking to track a stimulus check, you're not going to. Or you're trying to figure out how to file a non-filer filing tool, you're not going to have. That's not the purpose of the show. The purpose of the show is to be lighthearted, fun, and just kick back and laugh about stuff. And that's the purpose of the show. And I look forward to seeing you on Afternoons LA's second show in 2 hours from now. Let's look again at that schedule of shows coming up in the next 4 hours. First, where are we? There we are. Afternoons LA returns at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Evenings LA 2 hours later. And then we go to LA Late Night. Stay informed, stay focused. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. And thank you to the new members during this chat. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay of LA for more.